Hello everybody, my name is Reza. I'm a graphic designer and a PhD candidate from University of Science Malaysia, and in the next 20 minutes I'm going to speak about design concepts for digital medias. What I'm going to explain to you is how to create a graphic design outcome by using digital media from a very raw concept of your mind. So sit back, relax and enjoy the content. Basically, all the graphic softwares used by graphic designers around the globe are divided into two main streams. One is considered as Raster or Bitmap software. The second major stream is called vector softwares. For Raster software, what I can give you as an example can be Adobe Photoshop or, for example, Adobe InDesign that are used by millions of artists and designers and engineers to create graphic design outcomes. When it comes to vector softwares, I can give you an example for Adobe Illustrator or CorelDRAW that are used mainly to create vector graphic design outcomes. Now, I'm going to walk you through what is vector and what is raster and why they are used to create graphic design independently, how they are getting processed by the computers, and what is the difference between them, and basically how a graphic designer chooses either to use raster graphic software or vector. When it comes to vector, we're talking about an illustration or an image that basically can be enlarged as big as you want. There's no limit for that. Usually for very large outcomes like billboards or body paints for bus or airplanes, wherever it applies to be very over extra size, they usually use vector. To create a vector illustration, you need to create a structure like an engineer. As you see in the picture, you see a car. Well, the details are not too much and the image doesn't have too much of details like reality. It more looks like a drawing or a painting rather than an image with a myriads of details. First, you need to create the structure, and then you're going to give the tones and color and shades and a lot of illustration effects that can make your outcome bold and acceptable by the visitors. When we are talking about raster, we're talking about the software that is working with images with unlimited details that can look even better than reality. Here in the example, I show you one basic explanation that many graphic designers or many people in the field will explain to you when it comes to the difference between raster and vector software. Usually they tell you you can enlarge a vector image as much as you want, but when it comes to raster softwares, there is a limit for that and you cannot enlarge it as much as you want. For example, if I choose a small part of this image, like for example the head of this artist where you see the hand is on the head, like where I'm showing you in the image, I try to enlarge it to like 10 times bigger, and you see that the quality is robustly lower and you don't see that quality as you want. But this is a very basic explanation for that. What is really logically and scientifically is the difference between vector and bitmap software is something that I'm going to brief very much compressly so you can easily understand. It's not very complicated. I'm giving you examples that I try to walk you through that you easily understand with any level of knowledge about graphic softwares. Imagine that this table that you see in my screen is the screen of your monitor. You know, the monitors are created by units. The smallest unit in a monitor or in a screen is called pixel. So as everybody now is carrying cameras and cell phones with monitors on it, you know that the higher resolution that you have on your screen, the better quality you get. So we're basically talking about the pixels. The more pixels you get on your screen, the higher quality you have. In Raster software, or in Bitmap softwares, according to the table that I already have drawn for you, imagine every cell of this table is 1 pixel. So in this image, I have 27 I have 27 cells by 27 cells, and I already draw the letter E on that. So you see that each pixel is colored in black is going to create my letter E, and the white pixels or the white cells are presenting the background of the letter E. If I'm going to choose one cell or 1 pixel as an example to see how is the logic of the computer to process the color of the pixel, and then after that to create a bigger map by the pixel or by the bit by bit. That's why this software is called Bitmap. I'm going to choose one sample or 1 pixel as a sample to explain to you how the logic of the processor works here. You see the red circle on my monitor? Where it's exactly located is at the row 14 crossing the row J. That's why the pixel by the logic of the processor is considered 14J and the color is black. To create the color black, the processor is going to process it through the RGB coloring system, and you know RGB stands for red, green, blue. So here I have red, green, blue mixed to create the black color, and to generate that color, the red would be 0, the value of the color coding for the computer. The green would be 0 and the blue would be 0. So you get 0R, 0G and 0B as RGB, R value for 0. So as if all the color is closed and cut for the pixel to give you black color. Simply, the pixel or the sample that I'm picking up here is going to create the black color by all the 0 values. Now, another sample here is, as you see in the red circle I'm showing you here, is for the row 11 and M with the color white. So with the color coding of system of RGB, I'm going to create the white color for 10M as already we have chosen by 3 colors of red, green, blue. The value would be 255 for red, 255 for green, and 255 for blue. This is the value that the processor is going to generate to create the color white. Now, every pixel is applying a different color, so the processor is supposed to create that color pixel by pixel by pixel to create the bigger image. That's how basically a bitmap software is based on and working on to create the bigger image. Now, when it comes to a bigger image or to a very detailed image like the sample you see on my screen, you can consider how many of colors and coding is processed by the computer to create the image for you. That would be very difficult for the computer to enlarge it, because again, every pixel is going to be recreated and relaunched to achieve the image that we already thought about or we already created to have on our screen. That was Bitmap, or that was Raster. Now I'm going to explain to you about the vector. On vector software, we have a similar logic, but in a very different way. Now imagine the dot here. I'm going to create the letter E again, but you need to create the structure first and then give the color and tones and shapes and whatever you are going to add to that. But basically you need to create the structure of the image. Here the red dots that you see that is created on the monitor and the sampling of the pixel that you see here are going to create the map of my letter E. Now the difference is, in bitmap software you're supposed to create pixel by pixel and give the color coding to create the image. For vector software, you're just going with the dimensions and you're going to give the specification of the dimension just by the number and equation to the software. So you say, for example, from 26L to 16E and then to 2S, you just give the computer the dimension and the processor is going to create the dimension by just giving the numbers. So the vector software are basically work on the dimensions that you are going to give to the computer, that is easier for computer or easier for the processor to observe, understand and act on it, basically and generate on it. So when it comes to large images like the sample that you are seeing here, it's very easier for the processor or for the computers or for the digital graphics software to process, understand and act on a very extra large or oversized image to be used in a real life. Now I'm getting closer to how make a design concept as an outcome. When it comes to graphic design, there are many productions that can be created by digital software. Like for example, when it comes to corporate identity, you can create business card, brochure, pamphlet, folders, pen, advertising items, door gifts, a lot of things that you can create by digital graphic softwares. But how to choose raster or how to choose vector, it depends what outcome you are going to get. Through the experience you will understand which one is the reliable software for you to use, like which one is the reliable tool for you to pick up and hit the road. But you need to remember that the outcome can be a digital, like for example it can be a website, or it can be larger than that, like the body paint of a car, or the extra large streamers when it comes to the exhibitions for a company. You need to consider how to act on it. It can be even bigger than a body paint car. It can go on the tail of an airplane that gives the identity of a giant organization, just comes on the body of an airplane, and you need to be prepared. Either are you going to use the software to design a small monitor of a mobile phone, or you are going to have it as large of a body of an airplane. To give you an example, to walk you through the process, I'm going to pick up an example and see how we can start. Here I'm going to give you an example by designing a logo. And why I'm choosing logos? Because logos are coming in a very minimized and compressed form to show the maximum agenda of an organization or a person to be presented in a word. It's very difficult to create a logo because you need to say less and get the most outcome out of that. As you see in my logo samples, you see, for example, very famous logos like Nat Geo or it's a National Geography. You see just it's a yellowish rectangular, but it represents a very respected, robust company or an organization around the world that is known to the whole globe. Or when it comes to the logo of McDonald's or Ferrari, that are very valuable logos that are very, very respected in the industry, in the field of graphic design, and there are $1 million logos that is designed by a very simple vector or raster software by a graphic designer. That's why I chose the logo, because by designing a logo, you can see in a very short time how a simple concept in your mind can be translated or interpreted into an outcome. But before we start, I need to explain to you what a logo is created of. Where there are many definitions of logos, how to be created, but make it very clear and easy to understand is a logo is created from two major substances. First is typography, or text, or font, or something that we can write and give a direct message to the viewers. So we have typography plus symbols. Symbols are representing images, mindset, or a concept that are formed in a visual that turn into a visual form. Now, I'm going to give you an example for each of those basic concepts. Now, I'm going to give you examples of logos that are created by typography plus symbols, just the typography or just a symbol or a combination of them. Here, as you see, these are very famous logos that are just logo type. You don't see any symbol or anything. It's just a logo type. For example, the FedEx or Federal Express. You directly can read the word, or Coca-Cola or Nestle, Walt Disney. These are the logos which are known to the whole world, and it's just a very simple typography. The next type of the logos are using symbols. As you see on the screen, you see very, very famous logos that are just symbols, like the Google symbol, Apple, Starbucks, or Twitter. These are the logos that everybody knows them and are just symbols. But there is the third type of logo creating, which is a combination of typography and symbols. Here you see the combination type of logos. Burger King, you see the typography, you see the symbol, which is a cut into half burger, or Lacoste, or Puma, or MTV. You see a combination of symbols and typography at the same time, which are called the combination type. Now, how to create a logo? To create a logo, there are different subcategories that you need to consider. The first and the foremost important part of creating a logo is to research about that, to get your mind fed by every information that's related to your logo. That's why all the graphic designers need to be knowledgeable about the fields and about what's going on in the world, and take everything into their life as information so they can be informed. But nowadays there are many things to be read every day. You get through many things and you cannot memorize everything, or you cannot read everything, because there are many aspects of world news, and it's very difficult to approach all of them. So where we can do the first scratch is collecting information from the industry. Now, for example, that you want to create a logo for a restaurant or a cafe, you need to go and study about the industry of food and beverages, and go to the category of cafes and restaurants and coffee. So you get all the information about these things. You feed yourself who are the main producer, what are the products that are used. Luckily, these are very famous subjects that many people are very familiar to, so it's easier for graphic designer to approach, and that's why I chose one of those to give you as an example, because it's easier for you to observe it. So you go to the industry, you understand what's going on about that item. Then you are going to research what are other design, or what are other logos or graphic design outcomes that are related to our subjects, like cafe and coffee or restaurants, or maybe food and beverages, and you see what are the similar logos. One thing to remember, you definitely want to skip all the similar logos. You can get inspired, you can get a hint from a logo that you see from another cafe or restaurant that are using, because you are searching on the industry. You can get inspired by them, but you are going to avoid designing something similar to them, because that would be basically a failure if you design something that is very similar to another things. That can make you a successful graphic designer. So you need to avoid similarity. The next is, you need to know about your target market. Who is going to use that product, and what kind of people are going to pay attention to what you're going to design. That would be very important if you know that you are going to design something for children, for adults, for a specific country in the world, for a specific region, or people with different abilities are going to know that. If, for example, if you are going to design something about people with disabilities, you definitely would like to have some information about those kind of people. So you need to know your market. The next is client explanation, and that's the most important part. You need to listen to your clients to know what they are exactly looking for, what kind of characteristics of the subject are going to take. Are they very classic? Are they going to make a very casual business? Are they going to be very firm and strong? They want the outcome to be feminine, they want it to be very masculine, they want it to be very loud, or they want it to be very quiet, they want it to be very robust and strong, or they want it to be very narrowed down and very avant-garde. It depends on you, how you listen and how deep you listen to the client to understand what exactly they want. Because you don't want to design something and finally your client would say, I'm not interested, sorry. You definitely want to get their attention and following them. So about the similarity that I already taught you, and I told you that you need to avoid the similar. I already have searched about the concept that I already chose, which is about the cafe, and I chose the name Cozy Cafe. So I'm going to design a logo for Cozy Cafe, and I already have searched some logos that already exist. Luckily, you can just Google it up and find out what kind of logos are related, and you easily can find. I already have found some logos, and you can see on my screen. Then let's hit the road. You remember I told you a logo is created by symbols and text. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to collect some symbols that are related to that industry. When it comes to a cafe, you know the coffee bean, you know the cups, different things that can be related, the espresso machine, what a cafe is used for. Usually in a cafe, the people that are coming to sit, relax and drink a nice coffee and spend some time to socialize with people or to talk to someone. So you need to find out some simple symbols that are related to that industry. As I already told you, I chose the name Cozy Cafe, so I'm going to create it. What is very important to design a logo is that you go very simple. The more simple you go, the more attractive your logo can be. When it comes to that, I'm going to use the text to create the logo. And as I already explained to you, which can be considered as a type of typography logo design. So here I just used Cozy and Cafe with different thickness of the typography to show the difference of gender that are coming in a cafe. Usually in a cafe, a boy and a girl, a woman and a man are going and sit in the cafe to spend some time and enjoy the time. So in this very simple logo, I try to explain that how a masculine and how a feminine characteristic are sitting next to each other. It can be considered vice versa. It can be considered also with a thick cozy and a narrow cafe. But what you are going to hear when you say Cozy Cafe, and here you will say Cozy Cafe. It's a different sound that you get from that logo, and it's very important that what your client prefers and what you are going for there. Now, for Cozy Cafe, another approach would be to break down the typography. Here I'm going to break down the typography. First, they are created of two words, cozy and cafe. And each one I'm going to break down into letter by letter. So now you hear that there are 4 letters that are making cozy and 4 letters that are making the word cafe. Now I'm going to highlight 2 similar letters that you already can see. It's very easy. You just take a look at the words and you see what kind of relations can you see. What are the similarities? What pops in your mind that can relate those characteristics or those letters to each other? Here I already find 2 C's in these 2 words that are very similar. Actually, they are the same. So it can give me a very basic ideas. That idea comes like I'm using the letter C for both words of cozy and cafe. But you need to remember it should be very balanced. So I chose a perfect rectangle to put them in a corner. Now you have a negative area that is vacant. You can use that negative area to put some other subject to that to create your logo. For example, in that negative area, I'm going to use a symbol that represents a cafe or the industry of cafe. The symbol can be different, can be, for example, a cup and saucer filled with coffee. But as I explained to you, in vector softwares, you First, we need to create the structure. Here I already created a structure of a cup to create a symbol, and then I'm going to add color and effects to that, so I have a more eye-catching symbol, and I'm going to add that to the typography that I already created. Now I have a logo, a combination type of logo, which is mixed with typography and a symbol. I'm going to give you another example. I'm using the typography and the symbol in another form. It's different, but you need to rearrange the word and typography with the symbol, put it up, put it down, try to do reverse, try to reorganize to see what can translate what you have in your mind in a better position. What I see here, if I add like another visual effect, like as you see, I gave a negative circle in the background, so I already have a logo that to me is eye-catching and it can be represented in an efficient way. Now I give you an example how this logo can be presented. For example, here is a wall signboard, or it's an identity signboard that I already involved my logo on it, and you see that it's already eye-catching. It's already get you connected with what you want. Or for example, if I use the same logo as a signboard for the entrance of the cafe, you see that easily can get connected to you and can translate what you already had in your mind. You use your symbol, you use your typography, you put them together, and now you have some eye-catching logo. This also can be used in another purposes like the uniform logo, or it can come in other productions like, for example, the cup logo that can be hot printed. But what is very important, why we already chose the vector software to create our digital outcome, because this logo need to be presented in different form. As I explained you already, for example, when it comes to the uniform, the logo need to be embroidered. So it's different from a signboard that is hot printed, or it's embossed, or as you see here, it's hot printed on a cup. Here it's printed in oversized format to be tagged on a van as a company car. So you can see that if you already use the Bitmap software, it cannot be that big as you see here. So you are very comfortable because you already had used the vector software. It can go to other production, like for example here you see the cups. Your logo is totally matched with the product that you see here. Your logo, because you already use the vector software, it can go extra large. For example, you can go for a billboard that you see that oversized. I already used a slogan which says "Awesomeness in a cup." It just popped in my mind and I just used it. Of course, it's not very original. I guess I've heard it somewhere. I can't remember right now, but I've heard it awesomeness in something. So it came to me as a nice slogan. I use it as awesomeness in a cup. And then your logo, which is oversized, extra size, probably, I don't know, probably 20 by 20 feet. And it's up there already. So, to create a digital outcome by graphic software from an original concept in your mind, the process would be very easy. You need to pick up the right tool, if you consider what would be the outcome, and then through that, you need to research, get the information, put the typography, put the symbols, and try to cherry pick what is matched with your client expectations, and then you gradually start to create what is already suitable for your client purposes. Now, I would like to thank you for paying attention to my presentation. Hope to catch with you soon.